Well, yeah, well, superintendent. So tell me, what are your days been looking like? During this walkout.
Lots of meetings, but also talking with teachers that have lots of questions, but also most importantly, stories to share about the children in their classrooms and the conditions that they are teaching in those different schools all across the state.
You're talking to lawmakers as well?
Oh, yes,
and
definitely.
What do those meetings look like? I mean, what are you advocating for when you're talking to legislators?
Asking our legislators where they are, if we can find some kind of movement with bills that would increase funding for public education. And so you saw last evening that there was movement in the House with the bill that brought $20.5 million of new money for public education into the funding formula. That's a great accomplishment out of the House. And now we look forward to the Senate as they hear other measures that would also contribute to that. And these are all on top of what has been accomplished even last week as well. So
yeah, I mean, are there particular bills that you're advocating for? I mean, you're talking to lawmakers. I mean, are there any specific ones that you're saying, hey, this would make a big difference for education?
Well, the most important thing, I believe, is to ask legislators what they can pass that can answer that. That's their job. That's the work that they are able to do with the knowledge they have about what their members are willing to support. We're not going to be specific on this is what we want. We want to have public education rise to a level of competitive funding, and there have been momentous steps forward in reaching, I think, new ground. And that is because of teachers that have come to the Capitol to tell the stories of what's happening in their classrooms and to advocate for their children.
Do you feel like it's likely that we are going to see some more legislation, revenue-raising legislation? I mean, beyond the third-party internet sales tax, I know that's got a couple of hurdles. But,
yeah.
For example, ball dice, capital gains, I mean, do you feel like we're going to see some more revenue-raising passed?
I do. I think there will be new revenue that we will see out of the Senate tomorrow.
So last week's bill, seems like forever ago, it's $33 million for textbooks, $18 million, in general funding. You look at the internet sales tax that passed last night, which is another 20. I mean, that right there is around $70 million. Do you feel like so we are seeing kind of a substantial gain, but I mean we have seen a gain in public education funding.
We have, and this again is the direct result of teachers collectively bringing their voice to the Capitol. I think teachers have been so very frustrated by loss in funding, oversized classrooms, the teacher shortage, which we know is just deepening. And their voices have been heard, and we have seen important steps forward that I don't believe would have ever happened without teachers coming to the Capitol.
Do you get a sense for what it's going to take to end this? I mean, what amount that might be? And I guess I'm asking you what you feel like the OEA is wanting, because they're kind of leading this. Individual teachers don't necessarily have an individual amount in their mind, but do you feel like we've got to cross the 100 million threshold? Or what do you feel like the exit strategy looks like on this, from your perspective?
Well, I don't think there is just one group that is making that decision. You see opinions with small groups and organized groups of associations, as well as individuals who have all their various ideas on what is needed and when that needs to be done. I do think that there has been significant strides with the House last week and then the House last night, and we know tomorrow with the Senate, we hope to see that moving forward where we see additional revenue. That is very significant, and I think teachers that we talk to want to stay and fight as long as they need to for their students, but they also tell me that they are eager to get back into the classroom. That's where their heart is, and I think that is something that is not uncommon in the building.
Do you get a sense, we've got one more day left in the week, but do you have a sense that this is going to go into week 2? There's already plans for it if necessary, but do you feel like we'll be here on Monday?
I think it depends on tomorrow. We're taking this 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time.
So you feel like tomorrow could deliver enough of an impact to where the walkout maybe averted and going into next week?
Well, that sounds more of what I'm hearing from teachers and from those who are pressing for increased funds. We think that tomorrow will be a very important day in satisfying a lot of the ground that's been gained and giving teachers the confidence that this isn't one-time money, this isn't something that is going to be here for a short period of time, but instead they are seeing new revenue for long-term funding being built, and I think that helps instill confidence.
How concerned are you about, with what's going on here, the fact that we have schools closed across the state? When you look, students are off for at least a week. If you look at Oklahoma City, they just came off of a 2-week spring break, so 3 out of 4 weeks now, students have been out of the classroom, going into kind of a pivotal testing time.
Right.
How much of a concern is that to you?
I think it is the same kind of concern that teachers and school leaders and families would be feeling. It is real that our students are not in class learning. That is my primary focus. And I know that is on the mind of the teachers who are here. This is something that I think has been very effective. I think there's got to be a opportunity to ensure that our kids can continue learning, that's not disrupted. So for me, the advocacy is very important, and I want to ensure, though, just like I think everyone in the building wants to make certain that our kids have what they need, and we know they need to be able to finish the school year.
Even if there is additional increases in revenue, that make long-term progress for schools. Is it unavoidable that we're going to see some negative outcomes in terms of student performance? Especially after going to new standards and and wanting to with the new plan that the state has and wanting to see that continued growth year to year. Do you think we're going to naturally see a negative impact just the fact that the kids have been out of school for at least a week, if not longer?
I don't know how that is going to end up, but what I can tell you is that is the most important focus for me, is ensuring that our students can do their very best. So as we make decisions going forward, as we are watching something that is very dynamic, that is changing hour by hour, we continue to examine what our next steps need to be to make sure that our students can do their very best.
After 1990, the walkout with 1017, in addition to funding, there were also a slate of mandates, class sizes, and those kind of things that we've talked about. They're still in the books, but schools have gotten the waivers, which come from the legislature. Do you anticipate, with the funding increases we've seen and possibly you're going to see, that some of those mandates are going to be now achievable for schools, or are going to be required in a way where these problems with class sizes and other things like that we're actually going to start to see schools have to have to meet those standards?
It is quite possible that the funding will rise to the level where those important reforms with class size go back into effect. And I know that this is something that teachers have been very concerned about, so I think that would be welcomed by them. We know that students are deserving of the attention of their teachers, and as much as possible an individualized attention. We know our teachers want to give that, and when we have a shortage of teachers, we see increased class sizes. To be able to really keep pace with that growth, we're going to have to see more teachers return to the classroom, and we know that this pay raise is a very needed step to help put us on that path.
Yeah, and finally, what's this like? What has this week been like for you? As a top school official in the state, this is a showdown between teachers and legislators. But you're kind of in the middle. In terms of trying to work with. What's this been like for you to to be leading a public school system that right now, in many ways is shut down, or at least in a lot of communities?
I don't see it that way. I see this as a time of increased, intense, passionate focus on public education and on students. And I don't see a showdown. What I see is an expression of engagement and advocacy We see legislators who are working very hard to try to find a solution. Their work is to find enough votes to be able to meet those needs. And this is democracy at work. This is the kind of engagement that ensures that this is a continued investment going forward, because the public focus is going to remain on students' education and their lifting of outcomes. I believe we can be a top 10 state, and that won't happen without a competitive public education. And this is part of ensuring that we have that opportunity for kids. Access to learning, the ability to have well-trained, well-equipped teachers that can focus on the needs of students, that can provide for them a differentiated instruction or advanced coursework, the arts. All of that comes together in these discussions that our teachers are having with legislators. It's a very good thing.
Well, Superintendent, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks.